Hey everybody, it's James, otherwise known as Skate Punk Lefty, probably your favorite political commentary, here with another video. Finally, it's been a long time, but I don't get paid to do this. I work a regular job. Okay, today we are going to go over a little bit, a 20-minute video of Destiny's debate with, locale piece of shit, Ben Shapiro. And my wife and I watched a little bit of this debate and a few clips of some of the other segments too. And one thing really irritated us is that I feel as though, and this is completely not Destiny's fault, that Destiny went really easy on Ben Shapiro. But here's why I think that is. Because in order to debate somebody with the status Ben Shapiro has often of the time, you have to how I want to say, have either handshake or signed paper agreements to not really go into blood sports, not go too hard, to entertain some of his assertions and just not be too mean to him. Other than that, if they feel like you're going to be too mean to him, even if it's in a respectful way, they are not going to give you the opportunity to debate him because they feel as though that will wildly discredit him. So that's why I kind of feel as though, Destiny went really easy because I've seen Disney, yeah, sure. Destiny destroy motherfuckers in debates, and he's a guy that I learned quite a bit from when it comes to debating and rhetorical strategy and researching. But in this debate, I kind of, and that's the reason why I'm going over, especially this wokeness one. I feel like Destiny went really soft on Ben and entertained a lot of his stupid assertions. And instead of me talking, let's watch.
The influence of DEI programs at universities. And so maybe either looking at this or zooming out more broadly at identity politics at universities or identity politics, wokeism in our culture, how big of a threat is it to our culture, to Western civilization? Ben?
So obviously, I'm going to say it's a huge threat. The reason that I think this is a huge threat, I want to give a definition of wokeism because people are very often accused of not using.
I'm pausing it already to let you know that wokeism is a word that was literally made up fucking last year. Republicans and conservatives and fascists and neo Nazis all have come together to try to make being politically educated a bad thing, making being politically educated and knowing things about the world around you a bad thing. And people being fucking quote unquote woke is not a threat to society. In fact, it's for the betterment of society. See, Ben Shapiro, even though I feel like Ben Shapiro is a white supremacist himself, the rich people that pad his fucking pockets actually have a vested interest in keeping you fucking ignorant, keeping you from talking about unionizing your workplace, keeping you from working with the immigrants and black workers to stop, white, black, and immigrant workers and other people from working together into for a better tomorrow. Keeping you concerned about bullshit that doesn't matter, like about people's pronouns or people being non-binary. Like you would have motherfuckers literally living in like Florida or New York City, concerned or mad at somebody that lives all the way in Florida because this son of a bitch or Matt Walsh made a 30-minute video talking about how this non-binary person makes sense, and the whole time the person just so happens to be non-binary and might have said like, racism is bad, we should try to be better people. And then these motherfuckers would make like baseless 30-minute videos talking about how this person's a piece of shit and how they hate white people for talking about how racism is bad. And I know I have not let Ben Shapiro respond before I decided to like cut in here, but I feel like, respectfully, I watched this already, or this is unfortunately a pre-watch react video. I would have respectfully just said, I feel like these concerns over quote unquote wokeness is baseless because white people still hold most of the socioeconomic problem in America, and us being better humans and understand how things like racism, sexism, homophobia can influence our worldview, can make the world a brighter place for people who are living a little different. Now I feel everybody should have their own choice to decide who they have around them. While I do believe that, but I also feel like there's, no harm in learning about social problems and making ourselves more educated human beings. Like, that's what I would have said to him. Like, I wouldn't have did what Destiny is about to do in a second.
Wokeism properly or believing that it's sort of a catch-all phrase. I don't think it's a catch-all term. I think that wokeism has its roots in postmodernism, which essentially suggests that every principle, is a reflection of underlying structures of power, and that therefore any inequality that emerges under such a system is a reflection, again, of that structure of power. That used to be applied in sort of Marxist ways, the suggestion being that economic inequality was the result of misallocation of power in the structure preserved by an upper.
And notice he's talking past himself and not really like saying, because right here there when he talks about Marxism really is, he's very close, but he's far off enough to keep his audience ignorant. Because what Karl Marx and other left wing theorists argue is that wealth accumulated in the power of wealth is power, so is labor, but wealth is power. And accumulate in the hands of a very few leads to a very dangerous society for workers, where workers will not be free to live their lives and do the best that they can. That's the argument of these these leftist philosophies. Now this bullshit where he just talk past himself. I forgot even what the fuck he said to keep his audience ignorant has really nothing to do with postmodernism or Marxism as even far as I know about it. And I'm not even saying I'm a Marxist that knows a lot about Marxism and shit. But what I do know is that the argument that wealth and the power of a few is bad for the majority population. And that's the argument of Marxism and many other left-wing theories, up to including Fred Hampton and Martin Luther King.
Crust of people who wanted to cram down exploitation on people. That was sort of the Marxist version of postmodernism. And then got transmuted into sort of a racial version of postmodernism, in which the systems of the United States are white supremacist in orientation and are perpetuated by a group of people who are, in fact, in favor of the preservation of white power and white supremacy. That is the general.
I mean, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Don't get me wrong, because the way he's about to probably frame this, especially after I unpause this, is that this is basically trying to say all white people are racist. No, but there are people who have a vested interest in keeping society tilted to be more white supremacists, whether they be rich people that benefit from maintaining a working underclass of colored people, and or white supremacists who believe in eugenics that think that other races of people are inferior. There are several people around us, both in government and business, in our media institutions like you've been, that believe that preserving white supremacy in one way or another is completely necessary for society to function. So don't try to say it like it's not a thing that's happening or it's a thing that people aren't doing. This is a active problem that we're dealing with till this day.
Theory of critical race theory, as proposed by, for example, Gene Stefanchik and Richard Delgado in their book on critical race theory, that has taken a softer form that we refer to as DEI. The key in DEI is the E, meaning equity. So equity is a term that does not mean equality. People mix it up. Equality is the idea that we all ought to have equal rights, that we all ought to be treated equally by the law. Equity is the idea that if there is an inequality that emerges from any system, it is therefore due to discrimination. And the best way to tell whether somebody has been victimized is by dint of their race. And we can tell whether you're a member of an oppressed group or an oppressor group by the intersectional identity that you carry and by the...
Don't believe this baseless assertion where he just threw color up in there for no fucking reason. Don't get me wrong, I will say if you are a black working class gay or lesbian person or something like that, or you're a Latino lesbian woman, you're more likely to face more socioeconomic discrimination than, let's say, a straight white person. But the ills of capitalism and white supremacy are not excused upon straight white working class people, because they still, even rich white people, technically deal with some of the constraints and have a sort of victimhood in the system of capitalist leaning neoliberal white supremacy. That didn't make sense, but in the system of capitalism and white supremacy, as we know, socially and economically, working class white people are also oppressed people too, that should be standing by their colored brothers and sisters and gay brothers and sisters to fight for a better future. Fucking full stop. Stop this shit where you're trying to tone and water down critical theory, and you're trying to water down shit so that the working class white people in your audience stay ignorant and think that everything leftist or left leaning is about hating or hurting white people, when this, if you oversimplify intersectionality and you just try to focus on people that are more likely to be left leaning or affected by social ills in a more dramatic way, such as black, Latino people, Arab, Asian, or gay people or women. Like, you can be like that, or you can understand that, look at society today, where even working class white people are having a hard time affording certain goods and services. White people are having a hard time finding good employment. White people are having a hard time making a fair wage, but instead of actually talking about, the corporations that's fucking over everybody, regardless of what race that they are, you teach people that it's immigrants. Or look at this video of this gay person from Dallas, Texas, and do they offend you because they're coming for your children? Like, I can't, bro. Don't you even.
Nature of your group's success or failure predominantly along economic and power lines in American life. This means that if one group is predominantly successful economically, they must be a member of the victimizing class. And the only corrective for that would be, as Ibram X. Kendi likes to suggest, effectively.
What's with this bitch baby us versus them narrative too? Because white supremacy, as we know it as a structure, like being anti-racist and anti-white supremacy, being anti-capitalist, as it intersects with this way of thinking, once you get further enough along, you understand leftism, even to the bits that I do. And it's like Ben Shapiro and all his fucking other audience members and shit like that. This is why they go on to be, ironically enough, become neo-Nazis. Is because one thing that needs to be understood about how all this stuff works is that fighting the structure of white supremacy as we know it has nothing to do with directly fighting against white people. And anybody who makes that assertion is completely making an ass out of themselves. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand, because Ben Shapiro is a racist, and people like him, Fuentes, Charlie Kirk, they want a race war. Ben Shapiro, even though he's Jewish, he still affirms that he's white. He passes as a white man. He has far-right political opinions, so he imagines himself as not being a victim of a supposed race war. But that's a whole nother subject about how we talk about sellout dipshits, throwing their own people under the bus to be a part of and serve the majority. Whole nother fucking subject. But my point being is that is that this assertion, every time we talk about fighting white supremacy or how racism is bad or how racism is holding people back, it is not a zero-sum game that we talk about how, because if white people are obviously doing better than the blacks in America, Ben, but that does not mean that, white people are directly oppressing black people in every instance, in every institution, and in every business transaction. This system is much more multifaceted and complicated. And ironically enough, is like I said previously, but I can say more clearly now, some of the systems that fuck over and hurt working class people of color also fuck over and hurt working class white people. These same systems and social expectations that are put on us, these economic barriers that are put in front of us, especially as the law has become more a-racialized in its oppression, also is going to affect working class white people. And that's why I would prefer them to be right next to me on the fucking picket line. This bullshit where everything is about one race fighting another is to just keep you ignorant. Like literally.
Anti-racist policy is racism in the service of destroying racism. That you're going to have to discriminate on the basis of race in order to correct for discrimination that's baked into the system. That's incredibly dangerous.
And I hate the way, bro, I'm gonna have to speed this video up and it's like I keep pausing it, and I know I'm gonna pause it for longer to say this. The reason why I keep pausing it, because everything that falls out of this guy's mouth is shit. It's like Ben Shapiro breath smells like a fucking porta potty right now. And that's why I keep having to pause it like every 30 fucking seconds. This guy has not told the truth about or said anything correct in his entire time giving in this fucking interview. Like, Jesus fuck, bro. Can you be honest about one fucking thing in this entire fucking interview, dude? God damn it, bro. This is only his opening statement. We're 247 in, and this motherfucker has not been honest about any fucking thing, bro. He keeps dropping back to these baseless conspiracy theories, these half-truths about political theories that he's probably not smart enough to fucking understand. And promoting race war rhetoric, you know, back to back, regular to fucking regular. Like, Jesus, dude, can you, like, be honest about, you know, what shit actually means and how shit actually fucking works? Can you dissect and understand shit to a point where, you know, you're telling the truth about it? Because, like I said, because what's really getting on my fucking nerves, bro, and it's like, this is why Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire and all the rest of these motherfuckers are pipelines to people becoming fans of Nick Fuentes and John Doyle, is because they constantly push and poke and push this fucking race war rhetoric, bro. And it's like discrimination of today, discrimination must be done today to compensate for the discrimination of yesterday. And it's like they act like when people say that, that means that people are gonna come, like, you know, come to the suburbs and take houses from white people, or, you know, the stereotype where you have like an uneducated kind of you know, like you know, a guy, you know, like a street black dude, you know, we just put it like that, who's probably a fucking union worker that works at Chrysler that builds your shitty fucking cars. But point stands is that, okay, we have a black guy, right, and he walks into a place, and then the guy, you know, that's hiring says, okay, we're gonna hire him. And then there's a white guy who is more qualified, and it's just like, oh no, we're not gonna hire that person. These motherfuckers push the conspiracy theory that that shit actually happens when hiring processes are still tilted in such a way where if your name even sounds too black, your ass won't get hired. And they tried to do, ironically enough, a study to disprove what I just said, but then they had fucking names like Veronica Johnson and shit like that. Look, this black person applied, their name was Veronica Johnson, and they got hired instead of, you know, more perceived, I want to say, you know, ethnic black sounding names like Jamal or Sierra or what have you. So yeah, this is asinine. This is completely fucking asinine, dude. Like, you know, like when we talk about mending things, and it's like, you know, because, like, don't get me wrong, and also I will say this: when political pundits and theorists word things, it's like they will word things in a raw, mean sounding way. Take like dictatorship of the proletariat, for instance. When people say dictatorship of the proletariat, if I was to say that, I don't mean I want a Stalinist red fascist dictatorship. I mean that I want working people to own the means of production. And these motherfuckers know that, but their audience members are, you know, maybe not the most political savvy, or, you know, they're not, you know, reading books and literature a lot, you know, about political theories. They don't understand when sometimes when somebody says like dictatorship of something, or we need discrimination here, or we should omit certain people there, that means completely destroying white people or some shit like that. And they keep the wording in such a dishonest way, when this motherfucker knows that when people say discrimination today means just hire a few more black people, hire a few more Asian or Latino people, or hire some more women. And shit, ironically enough, the people that benefited the most from like affirmative action were like white women and shit. Not that I want affirmative action gone, but it's just like the point stands. Like, you know, this line, you know, these lines that they try to take out of left wing political theory and smear them, like, and you know, because Ben Shapiro is too smart for that. And these motherfuckers, you know, as I move on off this point, let's say Ben Shapiro said 1350 and walked away, and then I called him racist. He'd be like, "So, whoa, buddy, I'm just reading crime statistics. What are you so mad for, man?" And he'd play this whole fucking like rhetorical game, like, I'm just reading government FBI statistics. How am I racist for reading FBI statistics? And then you gotta explain to him like the only people that know shit like that, the only reason why you would say that in a raw way and walk away from it without breaking it down, you know, in a socioeconomic way, is because you're just trying to be racist and say black people are criminals. But it's nuanced for me, but not for thee. Got it.
It leads to a victim-victimizer narrative that is unhealthy for individuals and terrible for societies. It relieves people of individual responsibility, and it destroys the very notion of an objective metric by which we can decide meritocracy. And meritocracy is the only system human beings.
This dude's an idiot, because I will also say, damn it, Ben, would you stop lying? I haven't even got a good 20 seconds, dude. Can you stop lying? Like, okay, my nigga. First of fucking all, I can't even, bro. Like, I just can't with this guy, bro. Cause he just won't stop lying. Like, ugh.
Beings have ever devised that has positive externalities and
Well, what
literally
I was gonna say is that sometimes systemic discrimination and things like, for instance, the war on drugs, I feel like is a great example to how systemic inequality and things can affect one race or one kinds of people more than other, and then that leads to a society where these people face more discrimination. When there is a passive resentment towards a group of people, and then a racial laws that affect them more than other races of people, kind of tear apart their fucking communities in a myriad of ways that I can go through explaining when it comes to talking about how, like, the easiest example, how the drug war destroyed the black community. Like, yeah, like, there's no personal responsibility in a world where statistically you're more likely, even if you're not even a criminal, to be locked up for a crime that you didn't do. You're statistically more likely to not be hired because you have the wrong sounding kind of name, or because you're black in general. You will never fucking know. But the point being is that some people are born in some zip codes and some people are born in others, and there's a reason why at the end of the day some people are in the predicaments that they're in, regardless of what race that they are.
any area of life. Every other distribution of wealth, power, done along other lines that is not having to do with merit has negative externalities. Every system having to do with merit has positive externalities because
He's lying again. Because our wealth distribution policy, as we know it in the United States, is not based on merit, both at your workplace or the people that are fucking rich. The people that are rich are assholes, idiots, self-absorbed, fucking sex maniacs sometimes. Like Elon Musk showing his fucking privates to stewardesses and stuff like that. We can get on that. But anyway, these people are not very fucking smart. But instead, what they have is capital and wealth, and they pay engineers, they pay scientists, they pay people under them to engineer, to problem solve, to troubleshoot, to develop things that they can make money off of. And there's no merit in that, because Elon Musk himself cannot design an engine for a car, electric or fucking gas. Not to say that he has to do it all by himself. Let's say we gave him 5 people, but he had to come up with all the ideas. You really think Elon Musk could be able to come up with the idea of a car? Or, or a myriad of systems like the production line, or, or like, so much shit that we have these days, and so much, technology, the way that we work, and all the machines that we have, and even devices that we have for leisure activity and fun, and even social media, Google. All these things were designed by fucking engineers and workers, and the people that own them only had the capital to invest in these ideas. And often the time, what you will notice throughout human history is that the person that invented such an object or thing is not the person credited with the patent. That's very famous when it comes to women inventors and black inventors, where the only reason why something got patent and the person that got the credit for said object was white or a man. So this assertion that our society is somehow based on merit or the hardest working is asinine. Because, and then we can even get into the further statistical anomalies today. Because although production in many different fields have gone up, wages have stayed stagnant, because dipshits like somebody in this fucking room right here say that, oh, you want higher than $7.25 an hour for minimum wage? That'll cause our country to go bankrupt. So no, the most, the people with the most merit are not the wealthiest in our country. Unfucking fortunately, that's the work of the fucking devil. That so many people, and I believe that capitalism is greed, and I believe that greedy dipshit, assholes, these fucking assholes that don't deserve a cent, that don't provide any labor to the companies that they own, have more money and control over, let alone their company, but our lives than most people will ever have in their entire 70 or 80 years that they live. So no, I don't believe that this assertion that somehow down the fucking line that you know, somewhere down the fucking line that that how I want to say that our system is based on merit. Like no, no.
Presumably the most effective and useful people are going to succeed under those systems. That's the very basis of a meritocracy. And the externalities of that mean that other people benefit from the meritorious and excellent performance of those people.
Maybe it would be good to get your comments, your old stomping ground, Harvard. Do you think the president of Harvard should have been fired?
I mean, I think she should have been fired not over the plagiarism allegations. I think she should have been fired based on her.
And to be clear about this situation, this shit was literally dug up because she was pro-Palestinian, and Christopher Rufo bitch ass dug up a bunch of information dug into her past to try to find things to smear her about. So these allegations about her being a plagiarist may or may not be credible, but I believe they lose their credibility because it wasn't because Christopher Rufo and the rest of these dipshits were trying to find out about did she honestly write her paper or report or whatever the right way without plagiarizing. This was a politically motivated smear campaign. So no.
Performance just at that congressional hearing. If the word black had been substituted for Jew in that statement by Elise Stefanik that she was asking about, or trans, or literally any other minority in America, maybe with the exception of Asian, then the answer would have been very different coming from Claudine Gay. With that said, I don't think the firing of Claudine Gay really accomplishes very much. Meaning, did she get what she deserved? Sure. Does that mean that the underlying DEI
because she was anti-Zionist
equity-based system has been in any way severely damaged? No, I think that this is a way for universities, it's true for Liz McGill at Penn also, to basically throw somebody overboard as the sacrifice to maintain the underlying system that continues to predominate at American universities, where they spend literally billions of dollars every year on DEI initiatives and diversity hires and diversity administrators and all of this. I mean, one of the costs of education.
You really think that this shit happens? It does not, dude. Because what will happen is a company will companies are very vulnerable to this because they want to keep their workplaces peaceful and they don't want a lot of infighting between racial minorities, ironically enough. So what they will do, and even to appeal to a wider audience, they will make themselves seem woke and progressive. But I guess that's the party line if you live in the United States, being anti-racist, being pro-gay, being anti-sexist, and what have you. And if your company seems that way, is a good thing seen by the outside. So companies will do things out of desperations for relevance to assert these values, whether that's hiring people to come in and have like short lectures and slides and what have you. But these corporations, at the end of the day, they don't really care because these corporations will say whatever's politically popular at the time. Because keep in mind, before 1968, I'm sure quite a few corporations were like pro-segregation.
Escalating is in the massive administrative function that is now undertaken by universities, as opposed to teaching and cost of dorms and such.
You guys probably agree on a lot of it.
This dude's also full of shit, bro. And it's like, this is going to be a theme today as I go over these videos, because my next topic is going to be immigration debate. These right-wing populist dipshit worms make me sick, bro. Like I said, Brett, Ben, your breath smells like a fucking porta potty. It smells like shit right now. You do not give a fuck about how much college costs because you're anti-student loan debt relief, and your anti-student loan subsidization by the government. You don't believe in any socioeconomic programs to lower the cost of universities. So this dipshit bullshit here, he's trying to blame the rising cost of university attendance on wokeness, people not being racist, diversity quota management, when it shouldn't cost any more to bring in a poor black person or somebody that's the descendant of an immigrant, whatever the fuck that means. I don't know, but yeah, this is fucking dumb. No, college admissions have gone up. They cost more because there's no price controls on how much they can cost. And if you would believe it or not, I believe community college before the Reagan administration was free. But after Reagan got in office, the colleges not only started charging for you to go to them, but the costs the cost to go to college has skyrocketed over the past couple decades. So this bullshit where you believe that, making college cheaper at any turn, you don't really believe that, dude.
That's right.
Kind of, maybe, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what makes things do this, but it feels like we can never like have a good thing and then have it end as a good thing. Things always get taken to their extreme, and then we have to fight on those extremes. Like I would argue that back in my day, we called it SJW, Social Justice Warriors, before it became woke. I think like 2013 onwards, whatever. Like there are aspects to wokeism that I think are good. Like I like the additional representation that we have in media now. I like how, as much as people complain about the internet and how it's regulated, that there are way more groups that are represented on the internet. Whether we're talking X, the platform formerly known as Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I think in some ways, or whether we're pushing, like women's achievements in school and in the wider workforce, I think that these are all good things. The issue that you run into is people don't ever have a stopping point, and I think people kind of get lost in this woke for woke's sake thing, where we start to see these very weird warpings of these like academic, I guess, arguments that are used for really horrible things. So, for instance, I think that you can talk about in the United States things like white supremacy or things like oppression of certain demographics, especially with like Jim Crow laws and pre-Jim Crow. And you can even talk about effects from that. But then when you run into this weird world where we've kind of warped these things so that like not only is white supremacy still as present today as it ever has been, well, actually, Black people and other minorities can't even be racist. They don't have the power to because we're going to use a different definition of racism. And we can only talk about punching up as opposed to punching down. And we're actually going to say it's totally okay for these people to say or do whatever they want.
No, I wouldn't even give, because this is giving Ben Shapiro's arguments legitimacy, and I wouldn't even do it to this extent, because what Destiny is talking about right now, how like left wing thinking can go too far as corporations pandering, or a couple of people on Twitter being annoying, like calling people racist for no reason or something like that. While that stuff happens, but Ben Shapiro has no fucking leg to stand on, and I've been wanting to say this whole fucking time, because right wing beliefs and right wing, thought processes, they are leading a campaign of terror across the United States. These motherfuckers come out and they pick up trucks bristling with guns, talking about how they're gonna hunt down gay pedophiles or citizen arrest black criminals and shit like that. So these people have no leg to stand on when they talk about, psychological or social damage to certain political views and stuff like that. And while I will, entertain it in this video, because I didn't even want to say this, because it's not even worth saying at all. Some left-wing people or some liberal people can be kind of annoying at times. They can be kind of pandering at times. They can kind of say dumb shit like black people can't be racist, but they are a complete minority when it comes to, because this is like the pseudo left, like dipshits. I don't feel some of those people be left wing or liberal. I think they're politically syncretic and are just stupid, and ironically serve the interest of white supremacy, but they don't realize it. But yeah, this is them, and this is the shit that Ben Shapiro believes. The shit that Ben Shapiro believes, again, and the rest of his contemporaries, is causing a terror across the fucking nation. So no, I reject these assertions that I saw a left wing person on Twitter can kind of be annoying, and yeah, it can go a little too far, because some people would say black people can't be racist. While all this stuff is true, there's a difference between something being true and then there's the gravity of the political situation our country living in, where if Trump is like reelected, we could see the end of democracy as we know it. So no.
And it's never bad, but like white people who have always been the oppressors, even if you're like a trailer park guy whose family's addicted to meth, you have all this privilege, et cetera, et cetera. I think that you run into these issues where wokeism, it starts off as like a really good idea, and I would argue has achieved really good things, especially in regards to like women's education and everything, and then it just gets so academia-ized, so there's a word there, academic, whatever, where you take something and you put it in school too much, and then it comes out as some Frankenstein, cancer baby of like horrible things, such that today when I'm reading stuff, and I know Ben is the same way, like if I even hear somebody say the word like anti-racism, I'm probably ignoring every other thing you have to say. If you utter the word like colonial anything, I'm probably going to say you probably don't have anything good to say. Yeah, a lot of it is just taken.
Huh? What do you mean you ignore when people say anti-racism or colonialism? Because everybody that believes in anti-racism is not some jackass that believes black people can't be racist or some shit like that. And colonialism, when it's in context and talked about, is a legitimate, because it is people out there who will try to say like America supporting Ukraine's colonialism. I feel like those people are dipshits. But the conversation about the damage in done by colonial empires such as Britain, France, and the Portuguese and Spanish and stuff. These conversations have yet to begin, and I feel like completely ignoring it and putting it on a backwater and saying basically that we shouldn't mention anti-racism. We shouldn't mention no, we don't even talk colonial. We shouldn't mention colonialism because it could be kind of like cringe when it's brought up by some people. There's honest academic and even just regular down to earth social conversations that could be had from the effects of colonialism, because there's many people who are living in certain conditions because their country was victimized by colonial empires, and I believe that was the 18th and 19th century. So, and even 20th century. So like I just can't understand why you wouldn't want to talk about this, but okay. And anti-racism, like, don't get me wrong, like I said, it's some people that can be kind of cringy sometimes, but I feel like talking about anti-racism and how we can make a society safer for people of color, I guess I'm saying that also being a colored person myself, those conversations are also valid because I feel like it's everybody's responsibility, regardless, even if you are like a milquetoast intermediate conservative, even though I believe that neoconservatism is just a precursor to fascism anyway. But I believe if you're like a neoconservative, if you're a liberal, if you're a centrist, if you're like a social democrat or leftist or anarchist, it's everybody's job to keep the political field clear of racist people who have hostile intent towards colored people. So I feel that talking about anti-racism is valid criticism of not only our system and how we can make things more equitable for people of color, but also anti-racism as in people who want to smear and hurt people because of their skin color should be kept out of political discussions and shouldn't be given a platform. But then again, Ben Shapiro is right there.
Way too far. But you know what I will blame on some of this is I will blame conservatives for some of this, because I think one issue that happens, and I think Ben might even agree with me here too, is I think there's two huge problems that have happened in the United States, I think broadly speaking, is that one, we become more different than we ever have been, and two, we become more similar than we ever have been. And when I say this, what I mean is that like we're splitting off into these groups, and then these groups are enforcing this insane homogeneity between these two separate groups. And I think one of these schisms has been conservatives' reluctancy to participate in things related to higher education. So for a long time, conservatives are saying like, oh, the educational institutions are against us. Rush Limbaugh talks about how evil the colleges are and blah, blah, blah. And then what happens is conservatives are less and less willing to engage in them. So then you get this scenario or this environment where...
No, that's not what's happening, Destiny. I'm sorry I got to call you on it. The problem with conservatives in academia, it takes a dishonest actor and politically illiterate and a uninformed person to be a conservative. That's why conservatives have left academia, because everything that they try to prove has been proven wrong. Eugenics, proven wrong. Race and IQ, wrong, but I guess that's also eugenics. Gay genes and gay people doing stuff to children, studies about that, wrong. Trans women and trans men not really being a gender, wrong. Colonialism and not having an effect on the world, wrong. Statistics about how crime and poverty have an overlap with one another, wrong. Talking about meritocracies and political orientations of how we should design society. Basically, I'm saying political science, wrong. Every subject conservatives dive into, they're simply just wrong about. So they left the academic circle, and now they just will prattle along and promote their conspiracy theories. And it's not because colleges didn't like them. It's not because colleges kicked them out. It's not because colleges didn't accept them. A lot of these people are just stupid. They are bad people with terrible political opinions. And when the data turns against them, inevitably, they just walk away crying about it. and bitching for the next 30 to 40 years or more, or 100 years. Like, these motherfuckers still can accept that there's no genetic difference between black and white people. They still go around saying, no, there are differences. There can be differences in IQ. Oh, no, it's not environment, you know. And it's like they make all the anti-intellectual arguments that they can fucking think of. It's because conservatism, you know, as it is a precursor to fascism, you know, but a lot of conservatives are fascists these days anyway. But yeah, conservatism as it stands is highly anti-intellectual, because if you really care about, you know, econ, you really care about biology, you really care about social and political science, you will inevitably be a either liberal or, if not, a far left person, because far left and liberal solutions to our socioeconomic problems actually work, and conservative, you know, solutions to our problems don't. And that goes from, and that breaks into so many subject matters, you know, and so many studies have been done on so many socioeconomic problems, and the data is never the conservative answer. Flooding neighborhoods with more police will reduce crime. Wrong. Stop and frisk. Wrong. Fucking keeping trans women out of women's sports will cause women to feel safer. Wrong. Rape will go down if we keep trans women out of women's bathrooms. Wrong. Wrong about every fucking thing. Everything that they say and everything that they believe, they're wrong about. So eventually they get to a point where they don't really give a fuck about intellectualism. They don't give a fuck about science. They don't give a fuck about being right about something. You know, even immigration, which is the next thing I'm about to go over. Wrong. Unions, you know, raising wages, and do they hurt workers or not? Wrong. Conservatives on, and it's like I could make examples all fucking day about socioeconomic problems that have been studied by completely intermediate political scientists or you know, biology experts and stuff like that. And the conservative, you know, answer is never right. The conservatives, you know, and it's like, you know, it's just one thing I'll end on saying. I think they say that fascism is the stupid man's socialism. And that's why conservatives don't care about or participate in academia. It's not because they're rejected from it. It's that they're baseless assertions that are often at a time some type of pure fucking unadulterated hatred for some group of people are never validated.
Everybody that's engaged in academia on the administrative side are fucking insane. they're like, even more so too. And I also want to draw a distinction between like the administrators and the faculty, because oftentimes when you're reading story after story after story of like all of these insane admins that are pushing further and further left, usually the faculty is fighting against it. A lot of the tenured professors, a lot of people in their departments are saying like, hold on, well, we actually don't agree with this. But I feel like because conservatives for so long have demonized these institutions rather than like critically evaluated them and tried to like have.
That's literally not what's happening in academia, and why conservatives don't participate in it, and why conservatives have been becoming more and more distant from it. I'm gonna listen to this for a few more minutes before I end it and start my next video. But I like Destiny. You cannot entertain these baseless fucking assertions that conservatives are generically, you know, completely independent of thought, walking away from academia, when at the end of the day, a lot of these motherfuckers are probably being driven out. You know, A, they're driven out, or B, they walk out because, again, their baseless assertions are not really entertained by actual science and you know, realistic thought processes. So I just can't, dude. I don't know why you're even entertaining this shit.
Have like honest critique and engagement that they've just like completely
Because
broken off.
It's literally, bro, men smarter than women. Wrong. Every fucking conservative opinion, you know, gets debunked because you know, people don't actually just, you know, take their words for it, and we just have a more left-wing liberal world as we go forward in time, because of people just feel sorry for black people, or people feel sorry for women or gays. No, society has become more left-leaning over time because empirical evidence just proved that conservatives' worldviews, thought processes, and solutions to problems are also just wrong. Then again, we can just watch what happens to Argentina in the next couple years.
Off, and when you only have a bunch of lefties or righties together, all they'll do is they'll veer off like even more into their insane directions. I feel like that's a big problem that we run into in the country, to where conservatives have totally broken off some conversations, broken away from, where they won't participate in them anymore, and then the people that you have left just run as far to the left as possible.
Certainly when you
cannot partake in these conversations anymore because nobody wants to entertain or base this bigotry. That's why, or ignorance to social problems. It's not because people are trying to run left. It's just because academia and social science are just left leaning. And I think we're done here, but I don't really think I can get anything else here. I will end on saying that at the end of the day, I feel like Destiny did provide a decent amount of pushback, and he was very respectful to Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, of course, being a world-class piece of shit he is, performed very poorly, made a lot of baseless assertions, and a lot of lying in this debate. But if I was to ever do one of these debates with like Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, whatever, I would not be like disrespectful, because you got to know how to be respectfully disrespectful to people like this who are like, dishonest fucking partisan hacks. This has been the Skate Punk Lefty. You have a good rest of your day.